Hello, everybody. I'm James Beecham, founder and CEO of data security company ALTR, and welcome to another edition of Rabbit Hole Reviews. This is a show or recording that I do kind of detailing some of the news stories or topics that I spent a good amount of time on this past week. Rabbit hole can be defined as 5, 15, 20 tabs open looking at something, or having to crawl to that or dig to that kind of 7th, 8th, 9th page of Google, or now in today's world, asking 15 follow-up questions to ChatGPT. So that's what a rabbit hole is. Today I want to talk about the news that came out from Cloudflare the other day around one of the largest DDoS attacks that they had ever prevented or had to deal with. Happened back in mid-May. The size of the attack was 7.3 terabits per second, which I won't go into kind of the size of this thing. There's a number of articles, people out there talking about just how large it was. One of the funny examples I saw of somebody trying to explain how large this was said, imagine you take a high-res photo on your camera every day, one photo every day. It would take you 4,000 years to generate that much data that was used in the DDoS attack there. I thought that was kind of silly to talk about one photo a day, but it's 12.5 million high-res photos if anybody really wants to know about that. A couple things that were interesting about this that kind of led me down this rabbit hole. The first thing was, how in the world does this keep happening, and kind of how are we still having to deal with this? The analysis from Cloudflare showed that the attacks came from about 5,433 distinct networks. More than 25% of those networks came from Brazil, which I thought was interesting. There were, all the other countries were in there, but the substantial amount of the traffic came from Brazil, which I thought was interesting. So kind of looked at, is there anything particular about Brazilian hosting providers or the types of devices that are down in Brazil, or something that would kind of lead the attackers to go pick Brazil for the reason why most of that traffic came from there. And that's when I started learning about some of the network providers that are being asked by Congress to be banned for sale in the U.S. and in other places. So that's kind of what led to this rabbit hole, was just trying to figure out, well, how does this keep happening, and why is it the case that we can't seem to stop these attacks? And came across a letter that was dated May 14th, 2025, from a handful of members of Congress in the United States. The letter was addressed to Howard Lutnick. He's the Secretary of the Department of Commerce. And in the letter, these senators and government officials are calling for the ban of TP-Link, which is a Chinese producer of networking equipment. In the letter, they're specifically calling for the ban on the small and home office, or SOHO, networking devices such as Wi-Fi routers, cellular gateways, and mobile hotspots. Started thinking about TP-Link a little bit, and I've seen the name and I've heard the name, and I know they're very popular, and so why would we want to ban them? And started reading a little bit more about it. Inside the letter, too, they had some stats that I thought were really interesting that I wanted to share with you all. TP-Link represents 60% market share of these SOHO devices in the United States, and that's a staggering number if you think about how many devices there are in the United States. I mean, a lot of homes you can think maybe just have one Wi-Fi router, but some have multiple, and then multiply that by apartment complexes and other things that are on the same network provider. So that's an interesting kind of way to consolidate that much compute to be used in these attacks. Continued to read on, and I had to look this one up a few times, but it stated in the letter that TP-Link is the only router provider sold in the U.S. that refuses to engage in industry efforts to reduce Chinese-related state-sponsored botnets, and had to go through a Wall Street Journal article and then into a few of the footer articles in there to go find this and prove this. But there it was, multiple calls to TP-Link to participate in different practices and programs, all of which were refused. They're the only provider of routers in the United States that has refused to do that. Yeah, I thought it was interesting too. The letter called out only the Soho devices. The members of Congress feel that the enterprise grade equipment, is able to be protected in different ways. So this letter was really only focused on the small and the home office ones. I won't go through everybody's name who signed this, but it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 different members of Congress have signed this letter asking for it. So 60% of people in the United States have one of these devices. I have a lot of devices, both at home, in my office, in my parents' house, everywhere. And lo and behold, TP-Link, I've got one. This is a travel router, so a little bit different, I think, than maybe the Soho devices that are being talked about in this letter. But I have to say it's been a really good device for me. I use this mostly to share internet on airplane flights with my wife or with other friends. We'll buy one connection to the internet, and then I can connect this device to that network that I paid for, and then I can cast a separate network that my friends and family can join, and so we can share that single payment. Sorry, United, but also not sorry because you've been kind of screwing me on prices lately, I feel like. This travel router has a number of other uses. We can extend Wi-Fi networks with it. I can convert a wired network to a wireless network. So it's a really handy device, but really makes me think twice about having it. I'm going to be looking at different alternatives. One of the things that I was reading about as part of this review, this rabbit hole review, was how did they get 60% market share at TP-Link? I mean, they are good products, but that's a significant market share. And so it turns out that they've been TP-Link has been dramatically undercutting the price of their devices relative to the market. So when you're on Amazon shopping for these and you sort by price, lowest to highest, it's amazing when the lowest price router has 50,000 reviews, all 4.7 stars. So it's almost like this was engineered to be sold to a lot of people and then to be used for these botnets in there. So I did not find any information from Cloudflare that linked TP-Link devices to the particular attack, but just knowing how prevalent they are and knowing how little TP-Link has looked to play ball with the United States and other countries to prevent these things, probably a good chance that that they're related to that. So in conclusion here for this rabbit hole, huge Cloudflare attack on one of their customers, largest ever recorded from a DDoS perspective. Started trying to figure out how this keeps happening. I learned that maybe the Chinese government is essentially engineering solutions to be sold cheaply to Americans and to others, so that they can then use these devices to generate these botnet attacks. So go check your router. If it's TP-Link, maybe think about replacing it. Thank you very much for watching.